Hey everyone, Rory here from This Paranormal Life. Unfortunately, I've been sick this week, so we weren't able to record a new episode. I think the MIBs must have poisoned one of my energy drinks, but it's gonna take a lot more than that to kill Rory Powers, you motherfuckers! I'm Rasputin, baby. I'm unkillable. Instead of skipping a week, we thought we would release one of our older Patreon bonus episodes. So if you want someone to thank for this week's episode, thank the incredible people who support us on Patreon and make these episodes possible. Because of them, we get to have an investigation this week, so thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, there are 34 more over on patreon.com, so check it out if you need your paranormal fix. And as always, we will be back next week with a new episode, because it takes more than a little bit of poison to kill me. Anyway, enjoy the story of Morgawr the Sea Beast. This one is actually a user submission, a listener submission.
That's right, it's coming from a drug addict who's seen some pretty crazy shit.
Subject, what's the deal with crack? We are going to investigate that today.
For the first time ever, on location, gonzo investigation.
This is a listener submission from one of the leaders of the paranormal commune, Daniel Mudson Hudson.
Of course.
A day one. He wrote in and said, "Hey, paranormal pals. I was doing some research on cryptids in the UK and came across this, which caught my eye." Daniel Mudson Hudson was talking about Morgawr.
Wow.
The Cornish sea beast.
I've never heard of Morgawr.
I had never heard of Morgawr either. So I looked it up. Right off the bat, you got a lot of similarities between Morgawr and the Loch Ness Monster.
Sure.
But the main difference being, while Nessie lives a life of solitude,
sure,
hiding in the shadows, Morgawr likes the spotlight.
Oh, I thought Nessie was pretty famous. Nessie is definitely a red carpet, Oscars kind of paranormal entity.
Yeah.
Definitely A-list.
Morgawr is more of like, is more that actor that it just is popping up in every movie.
Okay.
And you're like, who's in? Morgawr's in this?
He's hot right
again?
now. Okay.
Morgawr does not shy away from the public's view.
Nessie is like Daniel Day-Lewis. Does a handful of stellar world-class performances, but then moves to the middle of nowhere.
Right, yeah.
And is never seen again, but is kind of a legend. But Morgawr is Marvel Universe, not 9 movies a year kind of guy.
Well, I found an amazing log of all the sightings of the beast on a site called Forteana, which was a great site. A lot of this info is coming from Forteana, so go check it out if you're interested.
Nice.
But what we're going to do is we're going to start right back at the beginning and work our way through the sightings all the way up to the current day.
All right.
That seems like a good format for the podcast. Work our way methodically from the past to the future.
This is some old school TPL shit. This is how we used to rock it.
Actually, I'm too excited. Let's go straight to the future.
Oh.
Morgawr's got a jetpack and a laser gun.
I need contact.
You're right. That was abrupt. We'll go back.
Going to the future, 2050, Morgawr is president of every country. It rules the world.
Our story begins on April 26th, 1876.
Wow, a long time ago.
Fishermen at Garren's Bay land back at shore, panting and out of breath. When they finally...
Not just because they're big guys, either.
When they finally collected themselves, they began to tell the story of capturing an enormous sea serpent.
Whoa.
The Royal Cornwall Gazette was the first newspaper to report the story, and they said, "The sea serpent was caught alive in Garren's Bay. 2 of our fishermen were afloat, overhauling their crab pots about 400 yards from the shore, when they discovered a serpent coiled up in the floating cork mark of the crab pot below. Upon their near approach, it lifted its head and showed signs of defiance, upon which they struck it forcibly with an oar. They pursued and captured it, bringing it ashore led alive for exhibition, soon after which it was killed on the rocks, and most inconsiderately cast again into the sea, Why was not the wonderful creature for which so many have been looking preserved and exhibited? It would have brought fame and riches to its captors.
You're damn right.
This isn't the way you think a cryptid story is going to start, where the cryptid is dragged to shore and beaten to death. And then thrown back in the ocean.
No.
You know, usually it starts off with like a fisherman's tale or like a snapshot and you see it in the distance.
Yeah.
Or like you go through your family photos and Morgar's always been there in the background of every one.
Well, their first instinct was to beat it with an oar.
Which even if you thought it was any kind of animal, that's pretty cruel.
Yeah. Well, what is the defiance? I need to get to the bottom of this.
I am not sure. They said it shows signs of defiance, which I guess is just any sign that it didn't want to be beaten to death by an oar.
Fine.
Like wriggling around and stuff. That's kind of defiant, isn't it?
Okay.
Like, let me out of here. You're wiggling around.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Isn't that? I'm not a big fisher, but I understand that maybe to shock the fish, you like smack their heads off the ground to stop them, to try and kill them or stun them, stop them wriggling about.
That sounds right now that you say it, because I went on a fishing trip when I was growing up in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And smashing fish's heads against the side of the boat. If it doesn't stun them, we had a very cruel guide. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been taking children out on a fishing boat, for sure.
Yeah, if that was just off the dome, some shit he made up to look cool.
Does this stun the fish? What?
I'm just showing them who's boss, that's all.
Keeping them in their place. There's a million of them in there. You know what happened if they made it to land?
There's a million defiant little shits swimming about down there.
So there had been rumors about a creature like it in the area, but it had never been captured or obviously not killed before. And even though the body was missing, the locals figured that this was the end of Morgawr.
Right.
Until July 5th, 1912, over 30 years later.
Damn.
The crew of Da German vessel Kaiserin Victoria noticed something strange off their ship. As the object grew closer, they saw it clear as day. A huge sea beast, 20 feet long.
No.
A blue-gray top and a white belly. The creature was whipping back and forth in the water defiantly. But before the men could get to it, the beast submerged.
Of course.
Now, we have a sighting of a creature that matches the description of the beast 30 years later, but they thought they killed the creature and threw it back into the ocean. Could it possibly have survived? Is this another version of this sea beast?
So we could be talking about the same Morgawr, the one and only, the champion of the oceans. Or it could be in a member of Morgawr's family, maybe some other number of the species.
Morgawr Jr.
Sure.
Morgawr Sr.
Which
there was a bit of white in that belly.
Honestly, might make sense because Morgawr Jr. would be out for revenge.
Yeah, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Morgawr, this time it's personal.
He was like a centimeter, like a marble-sized egg at the time that his papa was taken away from him so cruelly.
But he saw everything because he's just basically one eye when they're like that. The next official sighting of the creature was in the 1920s when a 15-year-old boy named Donald Bray was walking with his family and their friends when little Donald spotted something out in the water. Bloody hell, Dad! What the is that?
Language, Junior!
It was the Morgawr!
Fucking hell, son!
They described it as a sea serpent with a head like a cow, a long neck, 4 feet out of the water, and a humped body.
What does that mean?
Apparently, the creature reportedly looked Donald in the eye.
The cow looked Donald in the eye.
The sea serpent with a cow's head and a hump body looked him straight in the eye.
So like a camel or something?
Look, what we're going to learn today as the story continues is that unlike the chupacabra or the wendigo, Morgawr's been seen a lot by a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And every time he's seen, he pretty much looks different.
Okay. This is a shapeshifter.
He's a little shapeshifter.
Got it.
I mean, it's always a slight variation of your classic sea monster, but obviously cow head. No one mentioned a cow head in the previous encounters.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting that I had an interest in Donald. I did want to say one thing, which is that, you know, I'm not judging the first sailors too harshly. These guys that beat the thing to death, allegedly. Because if
Shows
Morgawr
a lot about your character,
is
but that's
anything,
fine.
okay, enough. If Morgawr is anything, it is a rare Pokemon.
Okay.
And from what I remember from my Pokemon training days is that it was all too easy to land an accidental critical hit on the bish. You one-shot that thing, its HP goes right to 0 and it's dead.
There is
gone.
There is a difference, though, between accidentally quick attacking a Magikarp and it fainting,
Sure.
and beating a Gyarados to death with an oar.
They use the same attack multiple
Yeah,
times.
because Morgawr fainted. Morgawr fainted and they didn't stop. That's the difference.
In the water. Then they dragged it ashore and then use like fucking water blast, thunderbolt. They use a powerful attack.
They captured him with an Ultra Ball, brought him back to shore, released him in
Opened
the
the
ball.
ball.
He thinks he's going out to battle. He just beat the shit out of him with an oar.
All right.
That's not the side you want to. That's some Team Rocket bullshit right there.
That's right.
That we don't associate with. The story continues. In 1926, two fishermen were dragging nets 3 miles off of Foulmouth when all of a sudden they felt a snag on the ropes. Oh boy, we got a big one this time. Pull it on board.
Is that the local accent?
That's the local. I
haven't
actually
been,
think
but
it is.
I hear it's a beautiful place.
As the men dragged the net up, they cried out loud as they discovered a giant sea monster in the net.
What? The net was tiny as well. Don't know how this happened.
It was 20 feet long, with an 8 foot with an 8 foot tall, strange beaked head.
And the head is 8 feet?
And 4 tiny little scaled legs attached to its body.
Okay.
The men also noticed that it had a broad back covered with matted brown hair. The men managed to grab a sample of the hair, and when it was examined by experts from the Plymouth Marine Biological Observatory, they could offer no explanation as to what creature it had come from. Thoughts?
I feel like we're missing. Okay, I feel like we're missing a couple steps in that capture process. So this thing is 20 feet long.
20 feet long.
Its head alone is 8 foot tall.
8 foot. But in this version, it does have a beaked head. So I don't know if it's like 2 foot head, 6 foot beak.
Okay, like a hummingbird.
Yeah. Or whatever
long.
that thing is. A stork. What's the one that delivers the babies?
Yes. I got it confused with a pelican in my mind for a second. I was like, do the babies go in the mouth?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, that is very dangerous.
So they capture it. Apparently they get close enough to grab a tuft of hair.
Yeah.
And presumably rip it out.
Yeah.
It's not just falling off like candy floss.
I don't think so.
But yet, where is the beast? How didn't they reel it in?
Either they let it go or it escaped defiantly.
Well, we do know it is defiant. I guess that's
because
possible.
Maybe they grabbed some of the hair and they were like, this is all the proof we need.
Right.
A beast's hair.
Okay.
And then they're like, get out of here, you little scamp. This is enough to make us rich.
Yeah, we'll be rich now.
But they didn't even consider that if they take it to a biologist, a marine biologist, they can be like, we don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Where's the creature? And they're like, oh, shit. Did you need a toenail clipping? He had 4 little legs. Maybe he had 4
like,
little
we
feet.
need the skeleton. We need
Really? Shit. Oh, man.
That actually makes sense now that you say it. I have a problem.
All right.
No.
Moving on.
No.
Sorry.
No, you don't get to.
We just have a lot of sightings to get through. We haven't even started.
Okay.
This is under the header, the early days. All right.
No. Okay. Well, there's a lot of problems in the early days. that set a bad foundation for the rest of the story.
What's so weird about a 20-foot fucking beaked cow
almost
with four little legs?
Almost the worst, most confusing bit is the hair.
Yeah,
No sea beast has hair. It's not very water dynamic.
Really
it's not good for swimming.
Because even amphibious creatures don't have hair.
A platypus maybe has hair.
Fluff?
It's kind of like a beaver, but like it's different.
Otter.
It's an otter. Yeah, all right.
And they have like a beak. They have a bill. It's all coming out. It's all coming out now. Every question you just had, I just answered it.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go. You actually tried to move the story on before I could
July
get my question.
4th,
Okay.
1934. The monster was spotted in Whitsand Bay by several witnesses. It was described as monstrous, glossy, black, with a long goose-like neck.
Oh, fuck off.
A humped back, and a tremendous tail.
Goose?
Look,
This is everything but a sea beast. We've had humped back, cow-like head, a beak,
look, goose
gooseneck.
gooseneck is just a descriptive way of saying slippery ass little snake neck.
I just want it to be a Nessie. I want it to be a sea snake, a sea serpent.
You could say that Nessie has a gooseneck. You could say, because think about a goose, right? Which one is that? I'm thinking about a swan, actually. What the is a goose?
They're all the same.
Is it the
They're
same?
all birds with big ass necks.
It's similar. It's that little curved thing, the bit that pops out of the water.
Okay, fine.
All right. I'm glad I got you on board with
I feel like
because there's tougher bits coming up.
It has the teeth of a man.
In the autumn of 1944, Ed Boddart and other crew members of a fishing vessel witnessed a creature somewhere off Fowey Point. Suddenly, the Black Sea parted some 10 to 12 feet off the starboard side. A 3 to 4 foot diameter object with a ball-like head came straight out of the water and rose to a height of some 12 feet above the surface.
Okay, the sea parted.
The sea parted like
Moses?
frickin' Moses.
Okay.
Are we now entering into the realm of the paranormal? If it wasn't weird enough already.
So this thing is not just a goose, not just a beaked cow.
It may be Poseidon itself.
It may rule the seas.
They said the Black Sea parted some 10 to 12 feet in front of them. 10 to 12 feet is that's pretty deep water.
So this is off the coast of... This is still off the coast of Cornwall. Is that
yeah,
right?
this all kind of takes place in Cornwall.
Yeah, I mean, at those depths that fishers fish at, I think it can vary a lot. I mean, I've only been in a boat off the UK a couple of times, and like, it is kind of alarming how shallow it gets at points.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be anything from, I guess, hundreds of feet to quite little, like, 20, 30 feet.
And as far as I know, yeah, there are probably some species of whales that, make their way around the UK, but definitely not a lot of creatures that would have the capabilities physically, let alone spiritually, to part the water 10 feet.
I think they would need to be baptized
For a start.
For that ability. They would have to have some Super Saiyan abilities.
So here we have not only the appearance of the beast changing, but also the manner in which it appears.
That is nuts.
Spooky stuff.
This is very outlandish.
We're going forward again to the 1970s. Graham Sampson of Kingsbridge claims he heard strange barking noises underwater.
Fuck off. Underwater? You can't hear anything underwater.
I don't know what was he underwater? I shouldn't have included that one. That's the stupidest one.
Is that it?
That's pretty much the whole.
Oh my god. He just stuck his head underwater, heard a few claps.
A bubble, and thought it was the beast itself barking for action.
Went,
there are so many more sightings that take place in the 1970s that I'm just going to have to tell you the dates. Spotted in April 1976. Spotted in January 1976. Spotted in March 1976. Actually, in March 1976, a woman named Mary F. managed to actually take 2 photographs of the beast.
Really?
These pictures were published in local newspapers a few days later.
Ooh, I would love this because we can finally put these rumors about goosenecks to rest.
Yeah, and before we do put it to rest, she said the creature looked like an elephant waving its trunk.
God.
But the trunk was a long neck with a small head at the end. Like a fucking snake
Okay,
head.
well, someone said the head was 8 foot long, so it's not exactly a small head.
They said the beak was maybe 8 foot long. The head is like a raisin up there. It's tiny.
So we didn't have a beak that day.
Maybe she was looking at him from the back, so the beak was out. Look, these sightings have gone on long enough. It obviously doesn't care about being seen. It's flashing its beak and gooseneck all over town.
It parted the ocean. It hasn't been done in over 2,000 years.
That's metaphorically drawing back the curtains to reveal itself.
Yeah. It couldn't be more out in the open if it could fly a hang glider.
It was time to get a professional involved.
Yes.
So in March 1976...
I'm sorry, can I see the photos? You kind of glossed over that. You kind of used it as evidence, but then...
Sorry, you were interrupting me. In March 19...
No, I'm not interrupting you because you brought up the photos, so all I'm asking is can we see the photos before you move on?
I'm not going to lie, bud. We are short on time tonight. It is a little rushed. I have the photos. I definitely have the photos.
So just turn the computer on and show me it.
I don't know. I mean...
You know what? If you're not willing to show me, I'm just gonna. That's cool. You just talk and I'll look up the photos on Google.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I'll show them to you. I'll show them to you. It's fine. All right.
You're being so reluctant about showing me the photos. I don't know why.
The creature's been described in so many beautiful ways that I feel like showing you the pictures of the beast aren't going to live up to the expectations that you have created in your own head.
Well, that you've created by.
Talking
a big game.
Don't shoot the messenger here, man. I didn't say the thing had a beak. I didn't say it was a little goose.
You absolutely said all of those things. Who else said that?
I regurgitated them. I'll show you the pictures, but you have to just accept that these were the olden days and pictures were shit. Things don't look good, okay? So just bear that in mind.
So you're saying before you even glanced at it, you're saying it doesn't. It's not believable.
In your head, you're obviously expecting like a selfie.
You don't know what I'm expecting.
Of the beast with a beautiful gooseneck and a lovely beak.
We've been doing it for 150 episodes. I'm just expecting.
All right, here it is. Evidence. Here it is. Then you son of a bitch.
Christ!
Watch it. Watch it. All right, we're barely out of the early days section. Okay, there's a lot more to come. So choose your next words wisely.
What? Why is it a literal shadow? Why
is
it entirely
no more
black?
evidence for you. No more. You just lost your evidence privileges, buddy.
It does have a raisin head. You're right.
It looks like a dinosaur. It looks like the big dinosaurs that eat leaves from the top trees. What are they called?
A diplodocus or something?
Diplodocus, yeah.
The bottom one looks badly drawn. I don't know how that's possible for a photograph, but its neck is squiggly.
The neck is squiggly. It looks like an ink blotch.
It's an ink blotch. It's pitch black, despite the sea being different shades.
Hey, those pictures were published in a newspaper. So
well, that doesn't
I'd be careful going around and saying that those aren't authentic. So as I said, time to get a professional involved. In March 1976, renowned dragon hunter Professor Michael McCormick.
Stop right there. Dragon
came
hunter.
over. So,
a dragon hunter, renowned dragon hunter, no less.
Not just dragon hunter, renowned dragon hunter. Professor Michael McCormick.
Slightly confused because I'm pretty sure even we've covered dragons on the show before.
Have we?
I think maybe in the very early days.
We did that one that talked about the legend of Shonks. And I think he fought a dragon at some point. That might have actually been a bonus episode. I'm not sure. And dragons definitely did come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever done an episode on dragon. That could be a good episode.
We should.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Well, I don't mean to spoil that upcoming episode, but
Don't say dragons aren't real.
I'm just
on the
saying
show.
I've never heard of a dragon hunter, much less a renowned dragon hunter.
Well, he came all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico to see the beast. So I don't know what they're training people to do over there. Apparently cooler stuff than they are over here. His plan was to capture the beast with a little help from a very special man named Doc Shields. I don't know if you remember Doc Shields.
No.
He actually came up in a case that we investigated in the past.
Uh-huh.
In the investigation of the Owl Man.
Oh, yeah.
Another Cornwall beast, Cornwallian cryptid.
Oh, yeah. The pedo owl. I remember him.
Exactly, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Doc Shields was the cryptid hunter who is definitely not a doctor or has any medical training. And we looked up his Wikipedia in the episode, and the best part that we found was that he had to leave London after a drunken incident in which he threatened a police officer with a gun.
Okay, so maybe not the best guy to take down this thing alive.
Well, he's got a gun. We know that.
We know that.
I will say, after him popping up a second time, I actually looked up more about Doc Shields. Mm-hmm. Guy's got a great history of hunting the paranormal.
Really?
He's been doing the Lord's work all over the UK, getting involved in a lot of different cases. And I mean, here he is teaming up with a dragon hunter from New Mexico. Why isn't this a Netflix show?
Yeah.
Doc Shields and Michael McCormick. One of them's got a gun and the other one hunts dragons. It's said that the pair used, quote, traditional, magical, and ceremonial techniques to lure the creature out of the ocean.
Traditional is gun, right?
Traditional's gun. Magical is the gun, but the bullets have been dipped in holy water. For quite a while, they were unsuccessful.
What's quite a while? We talking hours or weeks?
We're talking months by the looks of it. The beast was sighted on April 16th, 1976, in May 1976, in July 3rd, 1976. Later in that same month, Roy Peters, a 17-year-old diver, said that he saw 3 mini Morgawrs just off the coast. He said they had skin like seals, but because of their ugly heads and necks, they were definitely not seals.
Well, I think something that makes Morgawr special is the fact that he's very big. Yeah. So 3 mini ones is automatically a little less interesting.
3 mini Morgawrs that look like seals are probably seals.
Yeah. Come to think of it, I prefer them being cows and geese and whatever the
Well, months later in November 1976, Doc Shields said that he had managed to capture the creature in photographs at Parsons Beach.
We knew you could do it, Doc. I don't know why I ever doubted you. You're the man for the job. Let's see it. Let's see these photos.
He said, I was waving my stick around and it appeared. No one was more amazed than me. Doc said he had stumpy little horns, and he described the body of the animal as 15 feet long.
Okay. What did he just say? He was waving his stick around?
Maybe that was part of the ceremonial process, or maybe
also did
maybe
he say
stick is what he calls his gun.
I think that is what people call
I was waving my
gun.
piece around and it appeared.
Also, did he say no one was more surprised than me? So even he didn't think he could do it?
I mean, I'm frankly amazed he's still here. It's been months at this point. The Dragon Lord went home probably day 5 after it didn't show up. But a year later, on February 2nd, 1977, Doc Shields again tried to invoke Morgawr at the same point that he'd seen the beast last. But it was unsuccessful.
I don't.
She's playing hard to get, he claimed.
I don't want to derail us too much, but you did again mention that photographs were taken and then kind of skimmed over that fact. Is it possible to see Doc's photos?
I'm not going to lie. I don't have these photos in my evidence, but that's because I also didn't look for them. So I'm going to do a little Google search right now. It's very hard to tell because of his involvement with the Loch Ness Monster and Morgawr, which is which, because they
Right.
both kind of look the same. But that's one of the pictures that popped up.
That is not just a sea beast. That is one of the like puppets from like the Land Before Time,
Yeah, it does look
poking
like
out of water.
a dinosaur's head just emerging.
I am. Whenever he said about waving his stick around, I am somewhat impressed by this image of him on a beach wielding a sword.
Oh my god!
With two naked women on either side of him. And he's just in like a raincoat and a woolly jumper with like a 4-foot long broadsword.
If that does not make you trust a man, I don't know what does. We're jumping straight from the early days to a little section called Conclusions.
What? You gotta be kidding me.
I'm out of evidence. I really thought the Doc Shields thing was gonna pinch it for you.
You gotta be kidding me.
What are your thoughts
It was
on
like
Morgawr?
it was like you robbed the jewelry store, got into the getaway vehicle, and then at the first turn off slowed down to a halt and handed yourself in.
Look, I set out to list all of the sightings of Morgawr, this beautiful sea serpent with a cow head, a goose neck, and a big beak.
Sure.
And I did that. Granted, have there been more since February 2nd, 1977?
1977?
Sure, there's probably been a shit ton, because it seems like he pops up every other day. Have I looked into them? No. Hell no. The last thing I saw was a couple of years back, someone thought they found his skeleton washed up on the beach.
Okay, so he might not be with us anymore.
There's a good chance Morgar's dead.
Right.
I mean, the thing's already been alive for over 100 years. And the first encounter I mentioned was him being beaten to death. So I'm going to go ahead and assume he's probably not around anymore.
Yeah, well, after that point, every year was a gift.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
an unexpected gift. Okay, no, listen, I'm being a little hard. I only thought, I just from all this talk of early years, I thought there might have been more recent sightings.
That was misleading of me, sure.
But I shouldn't necessarily expect that. A cryptid doesn't necessarily mean some psychedelic paranormal beast that lives beyond the means of space and time. It just means a creature unknown to science.
Right.
That we don't know if it exists yet. So it might have a normal lifespan, and that could involve it dying in the last 50 years for sure.
It's true.
Particularly when the fishermen were beating it to death. I will say it's particularly interesting that there is such a glut of sightings for this beast. You know,
Oh my
that's
God,
something
yeah.
that can't necessarily be said of a lot of other beasts. I mean, including the Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness Monster, listen, he's too famous.
Yeah.
Every tourist is visiting there, wanting to see Nessie. And so they have to come away with a story, and oftentimes they're just making stuff up.
She's got to like swim around with the baseball cap and the shades on.
Yeah.
These days, getting like Ubers just to and from every lake, because it's like she can't even set tail in public without being snapped by the paps.
Yeah, whereas this one is a little bit more under the radar.
I mean, all I know about Cornwall is what we've researched on the podcast. And from that, it basically sounds like Narnia.
Right.
There are monsters and goblins and sea beasts, probably talking lions helping kids take over the mythical government. I don't know what's going on in this place. Got cryptids coming out the wazoo.
There's definitely something to it. Like, I mean, Cornwall, Scotland, Ireland, it's all this kind of Celtic landscape. It's very beautiful, mystical looking landscapes that definitely lend themselves to undiscovered creatures.
Yeah. And you could probably argue that as a cynic, maybe some of that folklore and mythology has seeped into the residents of these places, more so than people in larger cities.
Very true. Yeah, I don't know how many like cryptid sightings are coming out of like South London.
Yeah.
Compared to places like Cornwall.
It's true. It's true.
But I will say one thing that I am disturbed by is the wild variation in descripting factors.
Oh, yeah.
For Morgawr.
Either there is a monster factory at the bottom of the ocean, or people can't describe a creature very well.
Or else Morgawr has some kind of GTA-style paint job garage underneath the ocean where after every sighting, he gets a new look.
Every time he gets 5 stars, he just rolls into this garage, changes color, and pops out. And everyone's like, who is that? Couldn't be Morgawr.
Morgawr is the face of a cow, yet this is a goose.
All right, we're just beating around the bush here. We don't have to come to a conclusion on bonus episodes, whether or not it's real and whether or not it's false.
Sure.
And out of the courtesy of Morgawr, I'm not going to do that. Out of the courtesy of Doc Shields, I'm not going to do that because he's probably still out there with 2 babes and a broadsword, swinging it about in a thunderstorm, hunting to this very day.
No one was more surprised than me
when something actually happened. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Kit, for letting me.
Hey, thank you for investigating this, Roy. You did a stellar job pulling this one together.
Thank you. Special shout out to, as I said, Fortiana, the website that had a lot of information about the history and sightings of Morgawr, which was awesome. Guys, there's nothing to shout out, really. We couldn't be here without you. We couldn't be doing this without you. So just want to thank you for helping to support the show, helping to support these 2 paranormal pals in their podcast adventures.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You guys own us.
Yeah, well, don't say it too much.
I've said it before, I say it again.
You're getting it in their head.
You can tell us to do pretty much anything and we will do it. If you've got a problem you need help with, if it's like a little, if it's you need a little muscle, let us know.
Whoa, okay. Well, that took a weird turn. I thought you meant like fix a sink or like unplug a drain or something.
You know, little
you're saying that we can, right, you're saying we can kill on demand.
Well, I didn't say anything like that, Rory. I just said if you need
a little
couple
muscle.
extra muscles.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Mr. Muscle, all right? Wink, wink.
Don't wait. You
Nudge,
could have
nudge.
winked and I would have been able to see it, but you said
well,
wink,
the
wink,
listeners wouldn't have seen the wink, would they?
I didn't know you wanted them to see the wink because it seems... All right, I get what you're saying here.
If you need someone's legs broken.
What did we say? I think we said in one of the early episodes that if you donate to us on Patreon, we will hunt and kill whoever you say is Bigfoot.
We only need one word.
Yeah, because then that's not on us.
Yeah.
We're like, Julia said that it was Bigfoot, so we're just doing our
we
jobs.
Don't ask
that's
any
not
questions.
on us.
That's our thing.
Guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this month's bonus episode. We'll be back obviously next Tuesday with a brand new paranormal tale. And until then, folks, always remember to live fast, investigate, and die young, baby! Woo!